adventure and our Big Brew Day special episode.
Yeah, Big Brew Day. It's the first day in May.
First Saturday in May.
Saturday in
which
May.
This year is the first day in May.
So that's tomorrow.
That's right.
And we're just showing how we brew. Talking a lot about home brewing. Part of this channel is dedicated to home brewing.
That's
and
right.
How we brew. Today we're brewing an Altbier.
That's right. So an Altbier is a German ale that is then cold aged lagered. So pretty fun, interesting style to brew for our Big Brew Day special. Yeah. This won't be an episode where we teach you how to brew. It's really welcoming you into our brew house to show you how we brew, and then we're also going to cover a lot of the basic vocabulary and all the different steps of brewing. So when we throw around terminology, maybe it'll make a little bit more sense for future episodes.
Yeah, and I mean everybody's brew setup's going to be completely different.
Right.
Not everybody's going to have exactly what you have and the configuration. Actually, once we get into the episode, this whole stand is custom made. Me and a few friends helped you assemble this.
That's right. We built it together,
really
and
to show off.
Yeah, we can talk about that a little bit too. So we are brewing an all-grain 3-vessel system, about a 5.5 gallon batch, which after a little bit of loss and space at the bottom of the fermenter, it'll give us right at a 5-gallon keg.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
That Altbier, that's in your D&D series of beer. We're calling it Random Encounters.
Random Encounters, yeah, that's right.
Very nice.
Yeah, you helped me come up with that name.
I think I did. Yeah, I think we were playing D&D.
Yeah.
And it was sort of in between rounds. I think we were taking a couple of minutes break. So it just kind of worked out. But
I do a lot of adventure themed beers because taste for adventure, thirst for adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. But this is going to be super interesting. I'm really excited to actually get this documented. How to go about homebrewing. I don't want to say how to homebrew, but how to go about it. What the main steps in homebrewing really are.
Yep, that's what I hope to cover. And I think first we're going to start by showing you all of the equipment. Again, not necessarily all the equipment that you need to go out and buy or that everybody uses, but we're going to introduce you to the equipment that we use for our brew day.
Yep.
So while Andrew fills up the water to get our water heated up for the mash, I will show you some of our equipment. We're brewing about a 5-gallon batch, as I said, which takes about 10 gallons of water. That's what the recipe calls for. So I use reverse osmosis water, which gives you a very clean, neutral slate. And then I add in my own mix of brewing salts with a spreadsheet program that I use called Brewing Water. So I've already prepared that yesterday, as I said, and then we have a few additives, things like kettle defoamer and yeast nutrient and an Irish moss, which is a clarifying agent, makes the home brews really nice and clear. Of course, a lighter for the burner. I have a nice digital thermometer, scissors. I have a notepad for just taking notes about the brew day and a few other little odds and ends. I have a sanitizer spray bottle as well, just to keep things nice and clean and sanitized. And then speaking of sanitization, we have a couple of buckets here. One of them will be our fermenter that is already filled with sanitizer. And then I have another sanitizer bucket with a bunch of things that we will get to later. Of course, the mash paddle, which I was holding here at the beginning of the episode. We have a bucket of our pre-crushed grains, and those will go in the mash as soon as our water is warmed up enough. And then over here on the brew stand, I have a horizontal brew stand, 3-vessel. So the igloo cooler here on the left is our mash tun. So we're going to add the water and the grains, seal it up tight, and then it's going to be the mash phase, and we're going to mash for about an hour. The next vessel is, we're basically just heating up water. There's no actual beer or anything that goes in it. We're just heating the water up to go into the mash. And then our other kettle, the one that's kind of the medium-sized metal kettle, that's our boil kettle, and that is where we're going to do most of the action, actually boiling the wort, adding the hops and things to make the beer. so we're heating our water up, and the target that we're trying to achieve is about 152 degrees in the mash time. So once we add the grains and just the transfer will cool the water a little bit too. So we're shooting for a temperature of around 165 degrees because we're going to lose about 13 degrees in the transfer and adding the grains. So now we are just going to wait for the water to heat up, maybe crack open a beer and get ready for the next phase of brew day.
Any part of Big Brew Day, there's got to be beer,
Yeah.
right? I mean, are you really going to brew a beer and not have a beer? That's really nice. Crisp, it's pretty weedy.
Yeah. Yeah, it has that kind of like light, grainy weediness.
Yeah.
Without being too like over the top, like flavorful. It's just a nice kind of easy drinking.
Yeah, this is definitely the kind of beer you'd want to drink while brewing.
Right.
I feel like a big heavy stout might weigh you down.
Yeah, or you know, by the end of a brew day takes about between 4 and 6 hours. So you definitely don't want to start the day with stouts and slam those all day because those last few, your notes start getting real weird.
Yeah, you start falling asleep while the mash is going.
Right. Yeah. Forget brew steps, and that's the worst thing. So it's good to pace yourself on a brew day and drink easier drinking beers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so we have our temperature about 165, and now we're just going to transfer this water into the mash tun. These handy little quick disconnects here.
Now I remember when you first did this. This is much better than actually picking up the kettle, the boiling hot kettle, and dumping it in.
Right.
It works
Yeah.
a lot better to have a little motor.
Going with the pump was a nice upgrade for the system for sure. We'll burp it a little bit, and then fire it up.
All right, I'll pour, you stir.
Sounds good. There's no adjuncts or anything else wild, so really a pretty straightforward mash and grain bill we have.
Yeah. Man, that smells great. It always smells really good on brew day. Good. Okay, I'm gonna go in. That smell really good.
All right, let's close this up.
Yeah.
All right, so we have our mash, and just gonna kind of hang out in here for about an hour.
So this stand really came to fruition a few years ago. You were living in a different house. It's actually really crazy. It's all of this structure is made from it's street sign.
Street sign post.
Yeah. Which no street signs were harmed in the making of this brew stand. But you were able to get some cutaways, some unusable pieces, and then we were just able to bolt this all together.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, we saved a ton of money on this. Shout out to my brother who was able to get all this signpost for me, and we were able to, really all I paid for was the casters and the nuts and bolts, and
yeah,
it was really a great brew stand. It was a really fun project, and man, this thing, I feel like it can withstand pretty much anything. It's been a great brew stand.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is a pretty traditional layout, I guess, where it's the 3-vessel with 2 burners, and then the mash tun, which does not have a burner on it. It does have wheels in the pump, so I can move it around. I can transfer the liquid pretty easily. There's a few other types of ways that can be set up. There's a gravity fed where it's more of a like a tower of power where you're going to fill the water at the very top, transfer it down to the middle level for the mash, and then down to the lowest level for the boil. Brew in a bag, you can actually do with just a single vessel, and everything's done just done in one kettle.
Yeah, that's kind of like a giant like tea bag situation, correct?
Yep. So you just have a really large like strainer muslin type bag with all your grains. And you just, that's exactly right. You steep it, you teabag it a little bit, you pull it out, you add and the rest of the water to top it off, and then do your boil from there. And then there's all electric systems. There's even like all-in-one all-electric systems, things like the Grain Father, where you basically put all the ingredients in, set up your timers, press start, and then walk away.
Wow.
Yeah. Is that even really brewing at that point?
You know what? I was gonna say. I mean, that's really convenient and really. I guess kind of an easy way to do it, just throwing money at something. But at that point, you might as well just go out and buy a 6-pack.
Right. All right, our recipe for random encounters is 4 ounces of Carafa 1, 8 ounces of dark wheat malt, 1 pound of Weyermann's CaraRed, 2.5 pounds of Pilsner malt, and 5.5 pounds of Munich malt. For the hops, it's all Spalt hops. We're going to do 2 ounces in at the bittering 60-minute boil edition, and then 1 ounce with 10 minutes left to go at the end of the boil. And we are using the Dusseldorf alt yeast from White Labs to ferment this beer.
So we've been going for a little bit of time. What stage of the brewing process are we in right now?
So right now, what we are doing is the mash out phase. We have mashed for an hour, kind of turning the dry grains and the warm water into basically like an oatmeal. And that is the mash. And that is what we extracted, the flavors and the protein compounds and the sugars from the malts. So now we are basically rinsing the malts, collecting all of that awesome liquid, which is like a sweet brown liquid we call wort, and that's the mash out phase. So what we're doing is we're collecting the wort from the igloo cooler down into what will be our boil kettle, and then at the same time we are pumping a little bit more water, kind of sprinkling it in over the top to kind of keep washing and rinsing the grains and getting everything we can from them.
All right, so we just finished the mash out.
Yep.
You say about what, 8 gallons of wort?
Pretty much, pretty much right at 8 gallons there on the marker. So now we're gonna fire up the burner and wait for it to come to a boil. Then we can start our 60-minute boil and start adding hops.
Sounds good to me. What would you say is an average time frame for beers? Because we're obviously not gonna finish doing this and then drink it right away.
Yes. Yeah. So. After we're done today, like boiling the beer, we basically aren't making beer today, we're making wort.
Right.
And then the yeast is actually what takes this like really sweet brown liquid and then ferments it, turns it into beer.
Right, makes it alcoholic.
Yep, so on the shorter end, you can actually go like from the boil kettle to a glass in as little as about a week.
Wow.
But more commonly, it's like 2 to 4 weeks for most beers.
Yeah.
And then if you're lagering it, that's actually just, lagering just means like cold, like aging the beer. And usually it's like a 6-week lagering period, but I think for an alt beer, I'll make it go a little faster. Nice. So I think probably like 6-8 weeks, we should have a really nice alt beer in our hands.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Definitely check in the next couple episodes here and see how we're doing.
Yeah, I always like kind of taking a peek and seeing how it's bubbling and how everything's going. So yeah, we can definitely do some check-ins.
Absolutely. Nice. Well, what have we got here now?
Well, hey, since we're talking about lagering, let's try this Dorothy's New World Lager from Toppling the Lager.
So in go the hops. Whenever you're ready.
Go ahead.
Ooh, that bubble up.
All right, right, nice job. You just added the hops in.
Just dropped in the hops. Now, what goes into like the timing of like the hop additions and stuff? I know there's a lot of factors, kind of also depending on what beer. But for this, it kind of calls for hop inclusion at what point in time?
Yeah, so we just put in 2 ounces of hops at the 60-minute edition.
Yeah.
And basically the minute edition is how many minutes until the end of the boil. So if we said a 60-minute edition, the boil will be done in 60 minutes. We just did basically the bittering edition. So most beers will have an initial hop, like either right when it starts boiling or when there's 60 minutes left. And those hops won't really contribute very much aroma or flavor into the finished beer, but they will contribute a ton of like the bittering. So basically a rule of thumb to follow is the longer a hop is boiling, the more bitterness it will contribute to the beer.
Okay. So we added it pretty early in the boil.
We added this one pretty early. This recipe is really straightforward because it just uses one variety of hops.
Okay.
So we did the Spalt hops for bittering, and then we're also going to add 1 more ounce of Spalt hops at a 10-minute edition, which should give both good aroma and flavor.
Very nice.
Yeah, and this isn't like an IPA. An IPA, you would add some bittering, and then you might add a few ounces around mid-boil, maybe a few more ounces at like 10-minute edition, and then you could even dry hop the beer, which is when you add it in as it's fermenting or after it's done fermenting.
Okay.
And so that basically will contribute no bitterness.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, you hear the terms, sort of thrown around, especially dry hop.
Yeah.
So all right, cool. So that helps demystify the hop situation a little bit.
That's right.
Nice.
So
we got this crazy contraption over here. I feel like this is we're reaching an exciting boiling point.
That's right. So this is a wort chiller. It's one of many ways to chill the beer, but we're gonna put it in with about 10 minutes left at the end of the boil because that will like sanitize it.
Got it.
So if we let the beer start cooling before we put this in, we could introduce some like bacteria or germs.
Don't do that.
Nope. So just putting it in the boil here.
Sanitization is kind of the name of the game when you're brewing beer at this point, right?
So much of beer brewing is really about cleaning and sanitizing. And really, you can be maybe a little bit more lax pre-boil, but anything after the beer is done boiling, it has to be completely sanitized.
Yeah.
So this is in there, and now this actually also with 10 minutes in the boil is the time to add our last hop addition.
Sure.
And then the Irish moss and yeast nutrient.
Irish moss.
So the Irish moss is a clarifying agent we add at the end of the boil to help the beer be clear at the end.
Makes sense.
And then yeast nutrient will just help the yeast to like really produce a good beer and attenuate the way we want it to.
Oh, there's the alarm.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
And then just a little bit of the yeast nutrient.
So you eyeball that.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean it probably should be measured, but I always just eyeball it.
Fair enough. All right, now, so here's the tricky part. Getting this from here over to the big water bath over there. Try to make sure you're not on top of your hose, like I currently am. There we go. So we're in the water bath. We're going to kick on the chiller, start getting this water going. Let's throw that over there. Now, as Arnold Schwarzenegger, as Mr. Freeze would say, chill out.
as the beer or the wort is chilling, we need to get our fermenter ready. So sanitizer solution is in this fermenter, but we want to empty this now so it's ready for the beer. So right now I'm just going to transfer it into this other carboy, and I'll use it for another brew day. Actually, I'm going to do tomorrow. So. We'll get this done. Everything else is already sanitized in here. We have our hydrometer sanitized and ready to go, so we can see what our beer came out to be once it's done chilling. And this is all empty.
So while we've got, we're waiting to pitch in the old yeast here.
Yep, brew day's wrapping up.
Cooling down.
So we started the day with a couple of lighter beers, kind of paced ourselves, split some like nice and easy beers. But I think we've earned ourselves a bourbon barrel.
Yeah, we got a big boy here.
Yeah, we do. So this one is not a beer I know that much about. It's called Yabble, and
from Dimensional.
From Dimensional.
We're repping them today.
That's right, we sure are. So Dimensional is out of Dubuque, Iowa, and I just happened to be stopping in to actually get some beers, to get some swag and stuff. And was there with my dad, and somebody that he knew was like, "Hey, you guys here for the big bourbon barrel age release today?" And my dad was like, "No, we're just getting some stuff and leaving." And I was like, "Hold on a second."
I was gonna say, you being the guy you are, I was like, "What? Bourbon barrel?" So
yeah, so we just happened to be at the brewery on their big bourbon barrel release day.
Perfect
So this is an Imperial Stout aged in Blaum Brothers bourbon barrels, and Blaum Brothers is a distillery in Galena, Illinois, kind of just over the Mississippi River from Iowa.
Right.
So yeah, what do you think?
We've been sipping on this for a few minutes, and I'm really impressed. There's a lot of it's exactly what you see on the package. You're getting a lot of bourbon-y, like you're getting a lot of bourbon. You're getting actually a lot of chocolate as well. So it's basically bourbon and chocolate, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's not like overpoweringly bourbon-y. It's still probably a big beer. Like still probably a big.
It's 14.5% alcohol. Yeah, so I don't forget the booze and so the sweetness. We actually got 2 bottles of it.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to maybe age the other one out a couple of years.
I think this would age really well.
I do too. I think some of that sweetness will mellow out.
Yeah, there's a good amount of sweetness, good amount of like chocolatey sweetness.
Yeah.
And then a lot of that bourbon barrel, like bourbon sharpness.
Right. Yeah, but I think you're right on with chocolate. A lot of good chocolatey, like chocolate malt type flavors. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a perfect beer for aging.
Yeah, and I think a perfect beer to wrap up a brew day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you kind of drink one of these. You finish up your beer, you get everything put away, and sit on the couch and sort of fall asleep for a few minutes here unintentionally.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up our brew day with a transfer into the carboy.
Well, this is I think this has been a really interesting episode. This is the first time we've kind of done a brew episode.
Yep.
And so what better time than Big Brew Day,
That's right. Yeah. Very excited about Big Brew Day. Go and check in with your local homebrew club or your local homebrew shop, because there are tons of activities around Big Brew Day, and it's a great time at the beginning of May to get into the hobby. You might want to spend more time outside, do things like that. So it's a pretty easy entry. I know we have a lot of equipment. We have a pretty detailed process, but I've been brewing for quite a long time. It can really be pretty simple to get started. I started on just a simple, like a brewer's best kit from like 8 or 9 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah. So, you don't need all of this crazy equipment. Like you need, there are some essentials.
Yeah.
And then always be safe when brewing. You don't want to spill a whole boil kettle full of water.
Yeah, I've done that before. So yeah.
And then keep things sanitized.
Yep.
And I think you at home can definitely enjoy your own Big Brew Day.
Definitely. So let us know what questions you'd like answered. If you'd like more of an introductory brew or have questions about our system. Please let us know, and then also check out the Altbier recipe, which is down in the description as usual.
And let us know what you're brewing.
Yes.
Big Brew Day it's not just for us, it's not just for homebrew club people. It's not just for that. This Big Brew Days for everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely a community
It's time to brew.
Right.
Share recipes, share best practices. Hopefully you learn a little bit about what some of the upper mid-tier brewing systems are like.
Yeah.
So very nice.
All right, well, let's check on that cooling wort and see if we can't finish this brew day up.
Absolutely. We're going to take the gravity here, yeah?
Yep. And drop our hydrometer in, a little spin, and see what number we came up with. Around here you can see it's about 1044.
Yeah. Yep.
Alright, so the hydrometer says that we're at 1044, which is at the very lower end of the style. So this should be a really easy drinking beer for, hey, summertime, right? So this will be ready in a couple of months, and it should be right about 4.2% alcohol.
Got it.
Yeah.
Nice summer beer.
Definitely. And a nice, malty summer beer. It won't be like a real hoppy or fruity type beer. So it should be a nice alternative.
Hey.
This alt beer, an alternative to the lighter beers in the summer. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and
Yeah, hit me. Just wide open.
there you go.
There we go. All right, now we're not transferring it carefully through a pump or through
Sieve or anything.
Yeah, anything like that, because I actually want it to splash around. One important thing for good, healthy fermentation is aeration.
Yep.
So where oxygen, later on, like in packaged beer, is a really bad thing. It can cause oxidized, cardboardy or papery flavors. You actually want to really kind of oxygenate the wort because that's really, really important for the yeast health.
Sure.
So, we're letting it kind of splash around here and get all those bubbles forming. That's going to be just a really nice environment for the yeast to go nuts.
Yeah, of course. And you've got this nice, wide, big mouth bubbler. I've seen some of them that are just kind of really, really tight, kind of narrow openings. So this is ideal, really. Yeah,
and there are so many different styles of fermenters. Some people, there's conical fermenters, which are in big cones that kind of taper down at the bottom. And then you can collect yeast and do things with that. There's stainless steel fermenters. You've probably been to breweries where, those are the huge, big stainless steel ones. I find that for my system, these big mouth bubblers are just so easy to clean. Yep. They're so easy to use, and they're not that expensive. Yeah. So I really love these.
Yeah, that's a best practice tip.
Ooh, it's getting heavy. I got it.
I'll bet. We're doing pretty good. We're down to about 2 more gallons.
Okay.
A little under 2.
Now this is a really nice color too. It's kind of like an orangey amber copper color.
It's nice.
That should be really nice and right in the style range for an alt beer when it's all done. Yes, and now we're taking the yeast that was spun up. There's a little magnetic pill in there that spins it. So I'm going to take a magnet, make sure that doesn't dump in here. And now we're turning it from wort into beer.
Very nice.
There we go.
Yeah, we'll throw in the airlock and let that bubble up for a little while. For quite a while, actually.
Yeah, we'll go probably 2 weeks in primary fermentation, and then we'll go into the lagering phase. So yeah, 6 to 8 weeks I think we'll be good to go and try this beer on a future episode.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Well, hopefully your Big Brew Day was as successful as ours, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Taste for Adventure.
Yeah, happy brewing.